Hi, everyone. Today, I want to talk about relationships and jealousy. This can affect a lot of us, and it can affect us in many different types of our lives. It could affect us in our romantic relationships, with our friends, maybe even a best friend, and a coworker, or maybe even a coworker who we've had a long term relationship with. I think it's helpful for us to know the types of jealousy and what we can do about it. So, there's two types of jealousies that can occur, and one type is really this mild jealousy that any one of us could experience, whether we're the one that's experiencing the jealousy or another person who's experiencing jealousy towards us. And in this type, often the person who is experiencing jealousy is feeling like there's some mistrust towards the other person, that the other person has done something that's where they have negative intention, and what they've done had really impacted them or held them either from achieving something or devalued them or disrespected them to some degree. So those are the main ingredients involved in jealousy. And in this type of jealousy, often the person is experiencing two types of what we refer to as unhelpful ways of thinking or sabotaging thoughts. One type is called mind reading. Mind reading is when we think that we know what the other person is thinking. Usually it's not positive, it's usually negative. And the other type is overgeneralization. Overgeneralization, or this type of way of thinking, is when we observe certain things and when we put them all together and we overgeneralize to a large conclusion. And usually that conclusion is, again, not positive, it's very negative. So, for example, putting these two together, one person may think, oh my gosh, I saw this person look at that other person. That must mean that he or she is thinking that they really like that person, or they're gonna cheat on me. They have this intention of cheating on me, or they did cheat on me. And overgeneralizing could be that I saw this person have these many successes and they're getting so much attention. Oh my gosh, I think they're going to be way more successful than I am. And that feeling of jealousy comes up. The conclusion is that that person is intentionally becoming that successful because they want to lower me. And often there's an inferiority complex, or there's this feeling of being devalued, and that's important to really to be aware of that, whether it's you or another person. That's one type of jealousy. The second type of jealousy is clinical type of jealousy, where this could be a clinical condition where a person is experiencing obsessive jealousy, or they could experience OCD, where they're experiencing a lot of ruminations, and the ruminations happen to involve another person and them having bad intention towards them. Or it could be another condition where the person suspects bad intentions happening to them. And in some of these conditions, clinical conditions, the person really gets not only suspicious but paranoid. And these thoughts come up especially during times when they're feeling unsafe in a relationship. So these are two types of jealousies. One thing to know about jealousy is that often some individuals may have been really made to feel either abandoned or made to feel isolated from people. They may have been humiliated, or there may have been some sort of relationship trauma in the past, or where some very painful emotions came up for them. And so a lot of times in relationships where they're trusting initially or where they're idealizing someone, that those relationships, and that may be someone, for example, you, that they're sort of experiencing that relationship toward, those relationships trigger those feelings to come up. So it's very important for you to know that sometimes some people cannot control this, and it's often not anyone's particular fault to say that they're experiencing this. What can we do about it? If you're the person who's experiencing jealousy, one thing that's important to do is to really self-reflect and ask yourself, when these thoughts come up, when these emotions come up for me, what am I really feeling? Am I feeling unsafe? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling like I'm out of control, or my environment is out of control? or my future will be out of control. And that's very important because you're getting at the heart of what's really underneath the jealousy. And to be able to really attend to that part of you, that part that's really feeling either ungrounded or scared, and to use your internal self-talk to really talk to that part to make it feel safe. It sounds weird to say, but it actually, there's part of all of us that sometimes just feels safe, and it comes out in different ways. Another thing to do is to really turn the evidence of what you had thought about another person towards yourself. To really ask yourself, or to really turn the tables and ask yourself, well, if this person was to say this to me and I really didn't do anything, or there's no evidence yet of me doing anything, how would I feel? And that's very important because it really helps you to really see other people's perspective of you. You know, often jealousy comes up in a relationship. So it doesn't happen with, for example, reading a book. It's not between you and a book, or you and a pen, or clothing and so forth. It's really around another person. And so because we've really evaluated this situation, that to come to the conclusion that that person is intentionally hurting us. So being able to turn the tables and see how you feel if that was to happen to you, and not just once, but ongoing and continuously. And that's very important because that helps to shed insight and to shift the perspective of how these feelings and thoughts come to you. Another thing you could ask yourself is how you want to be in this relationship, whether it's a romantic a relationship, a friend, or a coworker. Really asking yourself, do I want to be sometimes even critical in this relationship, or do I really want to be in a healthy relationship where I can really try to flourish and even help the other person flourish in this relationship, to have a supportive relationship? So really asking yourself, how is it that I want to be in a healthy relationship? If you're the person who's experiencing another person being jealous towards you, then there may be a few things you could do while keeping in mind that you cannot change the person. One thing you could do is to really validate how the person is feeling. Having a sit-down conversation, especially if the relationship is important to you, really having a sit-down conversation and trying to understand what the person is feeling, not what they're thinking, because often what they're thinking, like mind reading and over generalizing, it's not really accurate, right? You know that. But being able to really validate that, there may be times where they feel scared, they may feel anxious, they may feel out of control, and that can rock the boat for them. And being able to validate that and communicate that understanding, and really knowing that, and even at times in the future, if these situations come up, to be able to communicate and check in with that person to see if that is how they're feeling. Another thing you can do is to, during the sit-down conversation, is to communicate your boundaries. These are things that really push you away in relationships, or things that pull you towards a relationship to create a supportive relationship. During your discussion, I think it's important to recognize that just certain situations naturally will bring up the thoughts of comparison and jealousy. For example, if someone is getting a promotion and another person is not, that will naturally bring up normal feelings of jealousy or comparison. And sometimes us recognizing this situation together is healing, because often we think that someone has intention. For example, if the person who's having the jealousy experience, they have the thought that other person is intentionally hurting them, and the other person who's experiencing the jealousy also has a thought that that person is intentionally hurting them by being jealous. So together, being able to recognize how the situation naturally will make people have these feelings, I think is very important. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you for watching.